Hi there, welcome back to Football-Oranje. It's time for a European preview. The Europa Conference League last 16 is upon us, and four Dutch clubs are representing the Netherlands at this stage of the competition, which is a fantastic achievement. All 5 clubs are still in in European competitions, Ajax in the Champions League. But we're going to be previewing the last 16 of the Conference League, and I don't know too much about some of the teams which Dutch clubs are playing. So who better than EuroExpert? Let's see if he's truly an expert of all European teams and can talk to us about the likes of Copenhagen, Bodo Glimt, Partizan and Roma. What a brain we have to pick. How are you, Alex?
Yeah, I'm doing good. That is exactly how it went pretty much, viewers. Michael messaged me. He messaged me saying, would you be down to cover all 4 of these teams? And I said, I've got homework. I haven't really got a clue about Partizan, to be open. I've got a bit of a clue of the others. I'll take the challenge. Let's do it. And now we're here. And I reckon we're chatting backstage. There's actually some interesting things to talk about these teams, not just Roma. So definitely stay tuned for these.
Yeah, no. If you are a fan of Football-Oranje, then I'm sure that you know already that we'll be talking about the Dutch teams. But if you don't know Football-Oranje, we are Dutch football in the English language. But of course, we'll be previewing all of the teams involved, not just the Dutch side, but also the other side too. So stay tuned for a preview of each of those games to come up. So let's begin with, I guess, the big tie of the round, which is Vitesse Arnhem against Roma. Roma, probably the biggest team in this competition now, one of the favourites to win it. But are they? I mean, I'm going to be talking about Vitesse, but I think the focus here should be Roma. And are they as big and as scary as Vitesse fans probably think they are?
They're probably a better answer would be they're the biggest and scariest Jose Mourinho has been probably since Chelsea 14-15. He's actually rekindled a lot of goodwill there. You look at them in the table, they're currently we're filming this on a Sunday afternoon, so the table isn't fully finalized, but I don't think they'll be dislodged from 5th position in Serie A. And really, their bad results, I think of the 4-2 beat Juventus, they've come from sort of a bit of mental fragility, which Mourinho's being very happy to point out, put any of the blame anywhere but himself. But so far, they've actually done pretty good, I think. They've second in Italy for expected goals created, which shows they're one of the best attacking teams in all of Italy. And they probably should have more goals than scored because their top scorer is Tammy Abraham, who has 13 goals. Went on like a 7-game streak earlier in the season of just hitting the woodwork continuously. So he could probably hit more than he has. And defensively, I think they've tightened up. I watched them last night versus Atalanta. They granted out a 1-0 win. And though Atalanta didn't have Zapata starting, kept them largely quiet. And it's worth saying as well, just a nice tangent, I think, for people who will be wondering, Mourinho's finished at this level, why are Roma doing quite well and why are the fans still kind of on his side, really? So I was saying in Italy, the culture is quite different to England, perhaps, where a lot of the viewers we're watching from, where in Italy, the players are a lot more, I guess the word would be obsequious for people with good knowledge of English language. Maybe the other one would be they're happy to respect authority and they're a bit more obedient, I'd say. Whereas England, obviously, I think there's a bit more rebellious and a bit more player power. Italy, players are more likely to follow direction and less question Mourinho. And I think that's kind of helped him build something pretty special by what some people would say, especially if Tammy Abraham. I mean, if I'm a Vitesse fan, he's the man I'd be most worried about. He scored against Atalanta yesterday, and it came from a really nice, silky bit of skill between 2 defenders before finishing pretty comfortably. So does that worry you as a Dutch football fan?
It does, yeah. No, it brings me on to what I was thinking, because Abraham is probably the kind of... I'm a Villa fan at heart, so actually I've seen him play before, and I know what kind of things he can bring. And I think this fairly physical Vitesse backline, I call it, they're not particularly quick. I think they're going to struggle with someone like Abraham. The back 5 is what they're known for, Vitesse. They're known for their wing backs, defensively and attacking. Max Vitek and Eli Dassa are good threats down the left and right. But in the middle, Danilo Durki, the captain, Jacob Rasmussen, and Richelli Bazur, who isn't actually back quite from injury. I'm not sure whether he'll be playing or not. We'll have to see. If he does, that's a big plus for Vitesse. But Rasmussen and Durki have been a bit off form, especially in 2022. And I think Abraham, if he can attach himself to Rasmussen, he's going to have a good time. I have a feeling this one might be over in the first leg even. But it doesn't deny the fact that Vitesse are ecstatic to be this far in European competition. Never been this far before. So that they'll be just pleased with that. It's a sellout crowd. They're going to make a great atmosphere. I think they'll give them a good game. But I think that their defensive holes will be too much. Losing 2-0, 3-1. It'll be a comfortable win, I think, in the end for Roma. If Mourinho and his players are up for it, of course. Vitesse, they'll definitely be up for it. They've got some... I want to say good attacking weapons. The only real one that I can think of that will cause Roma any trouble is Lois Openda. Missed a penalty, though, against Sparta. What interests me, though, from a Vitesse point of view, is their home records. When they've played in Europe, they've done really well at home. They've won 4 out of 6 in Europe, but in the league, they've only won 5 out of 13. They've always struggled in the league after European matches, and they actually struggle more often against either teams that are really, really strong and technical, like an Ajax, or they struggle against teams that they can't break down, like in their suspended game against Sparta the other day. They need to play against a side they can go 50-50 with, and then that quite suits them. And against Roma, that just won't happen, will it? So, I mean, that's what I think for this one. I think at home they're going to lose, and then away they'll lose again. But it's just what a journey for Vitesse.
Yeah, 100%. I'd say one more name as well, just to go off what you said. If you're worried about the defense being a bit slow, I'd be interested to see if Mourinho starts. I definitely make sure I get his name right. I believe it's Felix Jan of Roma. He's kind of broke out this season. He's just under 20 years old. He's played like winger and striker, and he's come up with a few clutch goals. He's got like 4 in the league at the moment, but he's quite bulky and very quick. And when he's sort of in his stride, he can terrorize a defense. He's young, so he doesn't always make the best decision in the final third. He hasn't quite got the cutting edge yet, but he's someone else that I reckon, because it's the Conference League, Mourinho might start, and that'd be someone else I'd be a bit worried about from a Vitesse perspective. But a quick note as well, I'd say Dokai is someone I found like a couple of years ago. Well, I say found, you guys probably would have found him when he was coming right through, I can't remember which club, before Vitesse, but I was always quite impressed by him. So I'll be interested. I might keep an eye on this leg and just see how he does against Abraham in particular, because it could be a good test for him.
Yeah, I think if he's playing in like a deep defence in an English club, I think his physicality works. It makes sense. And the Rangers were interested in Ducky for a long time. So
yeah,
he's got quality, but he's got a bit off form, a bit off the boil. So we'll see how it goes. But yeah, I'm guessing you think Rome will go through this as well.
Yes, I do. I think if you want to score prediction, I'd say is the first leg in Rome
at Vitesse. So that kind of suits Vitesse in a way, I suppose. If they can get a win or a draw, that it kind of sets them up nicely. But I don't see it happening.
Yeah, I'll probably go 3-1 Roma over the 2 legs.
Okay. Well, the one that I think Dutch football fans will feel much more confident with, especially Feyenoord fans, is Feyenoord's tie with Partizan Belgrade. Brilliant fans. I think it's going to be a great occasion. But over 2 legs, Feyenoord should have too much for the Serbian side. It's always them or Red Star at the top of the Serbian league. So I think that whilst in their own league, they look very strong. They've only conceded, I think, 9 goals in the league this season, something like that. But Feyenoord's bigger and better. They drew against Groningen at the weekend. 1-1 draw. Wasn't great from them. But I think in Europe, something special seems to happen. And they for me, are one of the favourites of the competition. Be like Roma. I think Feyenoord will go the furthest. So I'm very confident for this.
Yeah, I see no reason why you shouldn't be confident. With Partizan Belgrade, they are a team that's produced a lot of talent over the years. People might not know, but players like Vlahovic has come through, Matija Kezman, Stefan Savic, Stefan Jovetic, Nikola Milenkovic of Fiorentina currently as well. So there is a team generally filled with talent, but at the moment it's kind of filled with players who've gone abroad and not completely hit the mark elsewhere and come back. I mean, their captain is Lazar Markovic, as Aston Villa fan, you might know, both in the Premier League and the Championship. Played at Liverpool, played at Fulham as well.
Oh, that guy.
Yeah, Anderlecht as well, Sporting, Fenerbahce, Benfica, all over the shop, Markovic. And he's now captain in the side. He's back, but I don't think he scored this season. The one slight danger, I guess, would be Ricardo Gomez, the striker, who has 27 goals in all competitions this season for Partizan, which is a really good record. But the 30-year-old only has 3 in the Conference League, and I watched him I think it was against Ghent in their group. I'll touch that group in a second. It was in the 1-0 loss, and he had a few half chances, had a few shots just sort of go wide like a confident striker would, but he just kind of felt like he looked quite sharp, but he just wasn't at the sort of level against Ghent, for example. And their group, it's pretty clear why they've got through, in my opinion. They came second and only just got ahead of, I can't remember the names exactly, but it was a team from Cyprus and a team from Estonia. So very low competition. This should be an easy tie for Feyenoord. And you can expect them to play in the 4-2-3-1, maybe try and come forward a bit, but I think their tempo of play, the pace of their play, is just too far off what we should expect of Feyenoord and an Eredivisie side.
And maybe the space will suit Feyenoord as well. They don't like playing against teams that are going to be sitting back and be deep because of the style of play that their forwards are. They like it when there is more space because they don't have a big physical striker to play off, and that's why they need the space to work inside the area. So I wouldn't be surprised if Brian Linson comes back into a bit of form in this one. And Sinisterra's been playing very well too, but wasn't on the weekend. I think in Europe it's going to be a different matter. And if Feyenoord do get a poor result in the first leg, I'd just really back them into Kalp in the second leg. The home fans are so incredible, by the way. I've got to say,
I've seen videos. They look great.
Them, yeah.
Yeah.
I've been in it once into Kalp, but always remember that. Good crowd. Next one, PSV Copenhagen.
Yes.
I look at this one. I don't know too much about Copenhagen at the minute, other than they're top of the Danish league. Danish league doesn't always have the most quality teams. I think of Midtjylland. I've seen teams play against them and just outgun them completely. But Copenhagen will always be the biggest side, like historical, and have some players coming through. So I'm looking forward to hearing about that, Alex. But what I think of this one is that they're a good team, maybe not quite as good as PSV on paper, but PSV have always struggled against teams that are decent. They can beat teams that are mid-table or lower down the league in the Eredivisie, but just struggle with like an AZ or a Feyenoord or an Ajax. Roger Schmidt's tactics for me are the reason for that. And I think this is a big banana skin for them.
It could be. I mean, Copenhagen have only lost twice in the league all season. They've made a big improvement from last season where they finished fourth, but I think in the second year in charge for manager, Jes Thorup, he formerly managed Ghent and Genk, played a 4-3-3, and they've hit some very good form. I think the biggest win for Eindhoven is the fact that a man we're talking about off camera, Jonas Wind, has left. The Danish striker has left to Wolfsburg in the winter, and he was Copenhagen's top scorer. Last season, he got 15 goals, and he looked like a terrific player. I think clearly above the sort of level for Copenhagen. But yeah, I can see what you think this, and I'm looking at them, and I think they have got a lot of quality. Really, I've kept an eye on their highlights throughout the season because they're always a good point of reference to the Danish league, and I think they only lost once against Brøndby, which I guess would be the closest you've kind of got to this sort of time. Brøndby are quite a good team, and it's a very intense derby. And I think they only narrowly lost like 2-1. They still have so much talent. I mean, one man I really want to highlight, or two really, three almost. We should start with the one who's got 8 goals and 6 assists this season, Pep Bill. He's a Spanish midfielder, 25-year-old, who's both-footed, and that's someone I'd worry about. I've seen him like ping these really nice balls on his left, but also fire goals in on his right foot. So I think he'd be someone who's he's looking quite clear. I think so on Eredivisie level, I reckon he'd do quite well there. So he's someone I'd watch out for. With the money they got from selling Wind in the winter, they signed 2 players. One called Mikaru from Atlantaspor in Turkey. He's a decent dribbler, but I don't think he'll have too much of an impact personally. The one I really think PSV should pay close attention to, especially scouting wise. I think this is a guy who could easily make a second step to the Eredivisie because he's young enough. Akinwumi Amu, a 19-year-old Nigerian who's joined from a Swedish side called Hammarby. He's like 5'6", and he got 9 goals and 6 assists last season in Sweden. But you watch him, and I don't put too much hyperbole into it, but he gives me Messi vibes in this way. He sharply turns away from players just so effortlessly. You know, when you watch Messi and it's like, it feels like he's playing. It feels like
dangerous comparison to make, isn't it?
I know, but it feels like he's putting other players in. This is what I mean. When you watch Messi, it feels like he's putting other players in slow motion and he's going around them. That's the thing I get from Ramu, where he's so easily puts them on their arse basically. And of course, it's
Yeah.
Swedish league. It could just be a different thing. Like maybe playing in Europe might be completely different. But I will say is that from everything I watched of him in Sweden, he looked way too good to be playing against these players who could be like 10, 15 years older than him. So I'm really excited actually just to see what he does in this tie. So I'm not expecting this to go to Copenhagen's way. They're clearly still the underdogs here. I'm a bit more hot on PSV than you are, but they do have the potential to score goals. I think if PSV win this tie, I reckon it'll only be one goal, and it could be like a 2-1 or a 3-2.
So they play at home first, PSV, then they're away. For me, PSV have the goals, especially at home. So yeah, they'll want to get a good win at home. But then in the last tie, the last 32 against Maccabi, I'm gonna get it wrong. Against Maccabi, one of the Maccabees, and they won 1-0 at home. But then away, that was a terrible draw where they could have conceded late, and then gone to extra time with having made their subs. I know that it makes difference when you've got a crowd away from home in Europe because it's a tense atmosphere. But PSV being PSV, they've got to see out games. They've got to get a goal early on to sort of kill the game, kill the tie. And it didn't work out for them because although they got that, they then conceded a silly goal and then they hit the post. I think it wasn't an easy one, and it should have been. And that's why I think this one against Copenhagen, if they don't take their chances, it's the same thing that's going to happen with the second leg being in Denmark. If they have only a draw, say, after the home leg, it's just really dangerous.
I will say as well, quickly throw in their group wasn't the strongest, but they had PAOK in there, which are a decent team, and they won 5 games and lost just one, top with 15 points. Wow. So I think would have been one of the highest points totals around the Conference League. So I reckon Copenhagen probably fancy themselves in this game. It's not like Partizan beat Feyenoord where it's like, I think Partizan, if they might try and play forward, could end up sitting back as well. I think they're very, very clearly one of the weakest sides here. I think Copenhagen probably see PSG as like a bigger team, but probably not too much bigger, I imagine.
What's your prediction then?
I'd say 2-1 then over the 2 legs to PSV, but I really wouldn't be shocked if Copenhagen come out of this tie.
So you think that it's more 60-40 to PSV?
Yes, yeah, that's a good way. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll have to see. But what a fantastic opportunity, just as a little aside, for a Dutch team to get to the final of this competition for the first year. What a special achievement it would be. And it shows how much the league's developing with them having, I believe it's still the second best coefficient in Europe this season.
I think it's the best.
Late stage. It probably is. I mean, it was very neck and neck with England. It's incredible. So if like even 2 of these teams get through to the quarterfinal, and Ajax, let's hope they do something at home against Benfica, having 3 teams at the late stage in the quarterfinals would be tremendous. The last one, and off camera we spoke about this. You're more confident about the Norwegian side than I am, but Bodø Glimt against AZ. AZ playing away first, the home leg after, as you've probably seen on the scroll at the bottom for about the 10th. 50th time right now, but it's still like telling you when the games are. And AZ are a good team. They had 19 games unbeaten. They lost to Ajax in the cup. They were just outplayed in that one. I think Janssen got his tactics wrong, but returned to form with a 3-1 win away at NEC this weekend. They like to score the goals away from home, AZ, and they have the best home record in the division in the Eredivisie. So they're strong away from home and at home, really. They just had a really dodgy start to the season. And I think them going toe-to-toe with a good footballing team is what AZ want. And I think that they come out on top of this, but it's going to be close. I think they're going to have to shade it if they are going to make it through. I don't see them just turning them over, surprisingly. And Alex, I think you're going to, yet again, make me sure of the fact that this is not just a Norwegian side that have just fluked their way into the last 16.
Yeah, I'd go further. I'd say this, if we're saying Copenhagen PSV, 60-40 PSV, I'd say it's 50-50, actually. I mean, this is the side who are actually unbeaten in the Conference League. They didn't lose in the group stage with Roma in there.
Yeah.
They
Why are they so good then? How have they been allowed to be this good? A Norwegian team.
I think I look at them, and even though I've never heard of their manager, Kjell Knutsen, he's a 53-year-old. He's won the Norwegian League last year and 2020. I can't believe I've never heard of him because the team he's got at the moment, they're playing so good. And I came into. I already knew a bit about him from earlier this season, but I added up my research, topped up on it after this January, because for people who don't know, in January they lost a hell of a lot of players. I think it was like 6 players, and a lot of them were starters. I think Patrick Berg went to Lens at quite a few £1 million. I think Eric Botheim, I think he's the one who went to Russia. Someone called Bjorkan as well. They've lost a lot of players, so I just kind of assumed, all right, they've been gutted now, that's it. But they knocked out Celtic. I'm looking at them, and there's really, it's all about the system. You watch them, and this tie won't be either team sitting back. Bodo Glimt, they're happy to, I think, make mistakes. You watch them against Celtic, they misplace a couple of passes, but they're great coming forward. They're great at stringing passes together. And I mean,
it sounds like RZ.
It probably is. I guess from what I've seen of RZ, I think what Bodo Glimt might have more is rotations going on. That's what I love about them. These sort of positional rotations where it's like the right back continues, he's running inside, and someone else fills that space and everything. I mean, the Dutch would absolutely love them, and that's what worries me about them, because I'm looking at them and I think, really, if you give them the time or the space to play, and I'm not saying you sit back, like if you just don't press them into the ground, and this is a team who could probably cut you apart, and it's a team that are happy to press high as well. That's something else that's interesting. I think one of their goals against Celtic came from winning the ball in Celtic's own third. So it's a weird matchup for Alkmaar, where it's almost quite even, I think. Maybe not completely in terms of quality, although a couple of players I'll mention in a second, they could trouble them. But really just in play style, and I think at level, this is a weirdly fun, interesting tie.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if we talk about RZ's threats, they've still got Pavlidis, who's having a very good season as striker. Jesper Karlsson on the left wing. He has had a couple of games where he's going to be a bit more anonymous, but the guy is playing for RZ, and he's still young 20s. He's not as if he's at the top of his game yet, but looks a really good player and can make a difference in ties like this. Probably with the best player on the pitch come to this game. So it's up to him to make a difference. I think they might be missing Mizio, who's an important cog in midfield, but Jordi Clasie, we are a Dutch football podcast, and I know we'll be talking about the Netherlands on our next podcast in a couple of weeks. But Jordi Clasie's got a Netherlands call-up. People are saying it's ludicrous. I think that actually he deserves to be called back up. Controversial opinion, because as a defensive midfielder, I think that he has improved his game again. He's back to a level which I think final fans remember when he used to play there. So fair play to him. And it's just defensively where I think they might struggle a bit more, though. The goalkeeper, Vindal, has not had the best season. He makes mistakes, but look, he doesn't have that much to do. But you don't often say, wow, Vindal made a great save for RZ today. He doesn't make those world-class saves, and he does, for example, just drop high balls. He looks nervous on occasions. He's young. He's going to make mistakes. He's not, though, settled down yet into being an RZ level.
I'm confused. Has the goalkeeper got the same name as your left back? He's saying Vindal.
Well, yeah, Vindal is a left back.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
Vindal and Vindal.
I have heard some commentators who said them exactly the same way. It's Vindal and then Vindal.
Okay.
Very similar. But Vindal was also out this weekend for the game, so we'll have to see if he's back as well. But more absences don't help RZ. The centre-backs are okay, but not great. You've got Martins Indy, Hatzidiakos. I personally like, what's his name? Name's going out of my head. Sam Burkema. Yeah, he's not getting enough starts for my liking, but I think he's more solid than what they've got. I can see it's been quite an open game. I don't think that either game will have a team having a clean sheet, even. So it goes far to say that maybe the away leg will be a 1-1 or 2-2, or maybe 2-1 to Bordeaux, and then back at home in Alkmaar. Perhaps we'll see RZ just shading that game. I think they'll go through, though. I think there'll be a 1 goal in it for them in the swing of a Dutch team's favour.
Yeah, I'd say it's interesting that Vindal, I think that'll be an interesting one if he doesn't start a left back, because a player I picked out that's been a threat, I think he only arrived in January, a Solbakken, a 23-year-old Norwegian who seems to have come out of nowhere. And I tell you, he has been there. I think he was there before. He's played 8 Conference League games. He's got 5 goals and 2 assists. He plays off the right, and he's like a lot of Norwegians, very tall, very strong, but very silky as well. A goal he scored, I think it was against Celtic. it might be assist actually, sorry, is where he had the ball sort of off the right hand side, and there was 3 defenders in front of him. One kind of pulled out, but he swerved between these 2 defenders before playing a really nice cut back across the box. So I'd want Vindal in to be against him because I want to contain him. Another player as well, Ves Lesson, then number 10, is a 22-year-old who's scored 5 and assisted 6 last year. And I think he's quite an interesting player as well. He sort of, I think from watching him, he kind of gets into sort of the penalty box area. And he scored a nice goal against Celtic as well. Recently, which people might have seen, is where he sort of curved it into the bottom corner. These 2 players to keep an eye on from a Bodo Glimt perspective. Definitely AZ probably have the talent over them, but I think maybe Glimt's Bodo or Glimt, he could call them whatever. They have I think they definitely have the superior system. Really, the best. If you could put an AZ team into this system, it'd be terrific because I think when Dutch football fans watch this team, they'll be watching them thinking, my God, they're so good. And that's what actually all the Celtic fans really were saying. If you go on the comments of their comments of their game, just like on Twitter or on YouTube for the highlights, most Celtic fans after saying, my God, how have we gone out to them? They how we've gone out at all, got knocked out of 3 European competitions. After that, they go, God, a Glimt though, what a team. They were really impressive. And so maybe just be a bit worried of them.
I'm worried because of what they did to Roma, but then I know it's another good team on their day, and really it is about that level. It's just whether they can raise their game, the Norwegian side.
Would you put Alkmaar ahead of Celtic in terms of quality?
At the start of the season, no, I didn't. I did previews on it. But I think that now I'd say AZ are better than Celtic because they've gone on this magnificent run and they've just... Pascal Jansen deserves credit because of what he's done. Taken them from losing, I think it was 4 of their first 5 games, into a team that went 19 unbeaten.
Maybe makes it a bit more mixed then, doesn't it? That'd be interesting.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really close. What's your call then? You think the Norwegian side are going to go through?
Yeah, I'll put my neck out there. I'd say Bodo Glimt win 2-1 over the 2 legs. You're not going to be too many goals over all the legs. I'm a very boring predictor because if you predict a lot of goals, you usually don't get it right. And I've learned, Michael, after coming on this podcast to talk about Turkey for Euro 2020, you should not be too brave with your predictions and you should play it safe. So I'm going low goals. I hope some people get this and having followed you for a long time. I get it enough. I think most people know me as the guy who said Turkey would go to the semi-finals. We'll have to see what you say for the World Cup coming up this winter. So we know if you say the Netherlands are going to win, then we'll know to disregard it completely. Maybe I'll sabotage you then. Well, thanks, Alex, joining us on the Football-Oranje YouTube channel for this. Of course, this will be on the website. So if you don't know we've got a website, go and check it out. And if you don't know we've got a YouTube, go and check it out. We Dutch football in the English language. We do all sorts of things. Alex, just final thing then. I've gone with Feyenoord and AZ getting through these 4 games that we've got here. And I think Ajax will see off Benfica in their second leg. Just about. I think it's close, though. But you think that it will be... I mean, just want to get your thoughts on Ajax Benfica as well. How many teams do you think are going to make it through to the last 8, the quarterfinals, out of the 5 Dutch teams that have done so well this season? Oh, that's a loaded good question. Out of the Conference League ties, I think it's going to be... it will be PSV and Feyenoord going through there. Yep. Ajax Benfica, I mean, before, Ajax kind of went a bit weird at the end of that game, right? They were committing a lot of men forward. Yeah, if you watch the first half, you'd say, oh, Ajax going to rinse them and they'll see it through. But they just leave so many players forward. It's getting silly now, and they're just conceding goals again when they weren't doing that for so long this season. Well, I'm gonna say that Ajax maybe in the second they would become a bit more streetwise. I mean, they know heartbreak in the Champions League. They know it via, some would argue, I guess, naivety. Like against Tottenham, maybe there's more opportunities to waste time in that game. You didn't. So maybe Ten Hag will be a bit more conservative in the next game against Benfica. I back him to go over them, by the way. Benfica has to change their manager this year, Jorge Jesus, because the game I watched them most, I think the one that sticks in my mind for the full 90, and they got battered 3-0 by Sporting. That completely torn apart, in my opinion. So I think Ajax are a team above them, and it's really in Ajax's hands. So going to the last 16, I back it will be Feyenoord, Ajax, and PSV.
Let's see what happens. 3 teams will be amazing. We've both gone for 3 out of 5 in the last 8, and just boosting that coefficient yet again for the Netherlands, and possibly getting this 3rd Champions League spot in about a year and a half's time.
Really?
When it will actually be. Yeah, that's what could happen if they can overtake Portugal, but it won't be this season. Very likely not this season. The season after, Portugal are going to lose a good season, and the Netherlands lose an awful season with the coefficient. So it's a matter of time, I think, before they get into the top 6 leagues in Europe. Get the 3rd Champions League spot, with 2 actually going to the group stages automatically. 6 teams back in Europe.
That'd be crazy. Wow, I'm going to keep my eye on
that. Yeah. So lots of exciting things ahead for Dutch football. And in which case, you should subscribe if you haven't already to Football-Oranje, because for these exciting times ahead. And if you don't know Alex, go and find him on Twitter, EuroExpert. I'll be very surprised if you haven't seen him around already. Twitter's hot property, right, Alex?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, you can find me at EuroExpert on Twitter to find everything European football. I'm not sure Ajax fans like me too much, because I've waxed lyrical about a lot of Eredivisie players that aren't from Ajax, which doesn't always go down well. I remember talking about Cody Gakpo before, and I'm like, he's good, but he's not that good. But if you're not one of them, you might enjoy my account quite a lot. So I recommend following me.
Well, if I'm going to be open and honest too to the people that are still watching this, then I will say for a fact that whilst I quite like Feyenoord, I've never really got on with their fans. They seem to hate me. They think I'm wrong quite a lot. So if you're watching any Feyenoord fans, give me some sympathy, please.
We can't please everyone, can we?
No. But anyway, that's enough from us. Please like and subscribe if you're new. Bye.